Welcome to the deep dive. We've been looking into something that might just be, well, a surprising key to unlocking all sorts of doors in your life.
Mm-hmm.
It's about genuine interest in other people.
Mm.
We've taken a close look at how to win friends and influence people. And while it's a classic, the core idea, it feels more like a superpower you can actually develop.
That's a great way to put it. We're going to explore how actively focusing your attention, your curiosity on the people around you can create this real ripple effect.
Right.
We'll see how it's not just about making those initial connections, but, about fostering lasting relationships, becoming someone others genuinely value,
hmm
having truly engaging conversations, building like unshakable trust, and even becoming more influential, more effective in teams.
And to really bring this home, we're going to share the story of Tony. He's an entrepreneur who learned this lesson through experience.
Oh.
Yeah, and saw a remarkable transformation in his business. It's a really compelling example of how this principle works in the real world, both internally with his employees and externally with customers.
That sounds fascinating. Looking forward to digging into that.
Okay, so let's start by digging into how this helps with just, well, making friends.
Right. What's fascinating right from the start is this almost immediate positive feedback loop that genuine interest creates in, social interactions.
Exactly. Think about it when someone really listens to you, asks follow-up questions,
Mm.
seems genuinely invested in what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
It creates this feeling of validation, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
And that positive feeling, that's the fertile ground where friendships start to take root.
Precisely. And from that initial good feeling, we see some tangible benefits. First off, you'll likely find it easier to make friends, often quite quickly.
Why is that, do you think?
Well, people are just naturally drawn to those who make them feel seen and heard. It's almost a biological response.
It's like you become someone they genuinely look forward to interacting with. There's that analogy in the book about a dog wagging its tail,
Yeah, I remember that.
that immediate, joyful recognition. People are instinctively drawn to that kind of positive attention.
And it goes beyond just expanding your social circle. Showing genuine curiosity opens you up to this vast, diverse range of perspectives and experiences.
That's a good point.
When you listen with real intent, you're constantly learning new things from the unique stories people share. It broadens your own understanding of the world.
Okay, now let's consider the other side of the coin. What are the social consequences when that genuine interest isn't there?
Well, the effects can be quite isolating, actually. The most immediate consequence is just the difficulty in forming authentic friendships.
Right.
People are more perceptive than we often give them credit for. They can usually sense when your interest is superficial or, completely absent.
Yeah, it can easily come across as just self-absorption. If you're always steering the conversation back to your experiences, your thoughts,
Mhm.
it signals to others that you're not truly invested in them or their lives. It feels pretty bad.
And that pattern of behavior, it can ultimately lead to people actively avoiding you. I mean, nobody enjoys feeling like their thoughts and experiences are unimportant or just, unheard.
Like talking to a wall.
Exactly.
So it's clear how vital showing interest is on a personal level. But how does this translate into the business world? We looked at some U.S. companies that seem to have really grasped this.
Yeah, what's intriguing is seeing how different sectors use this principle to cultivate really strong customer relationships. Take Zappos, for instance.
The online shoe retailer.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Their customer service training goes beyond just, resolving issues. It emphasizes truly listening to and understanding the nuances of each customer's needs.
So it's not just about the transaction.
Not at all. And this fosters a deep sense of loyalty. Customers feel cared for.
That makes a lot of sense. It transforms a potentially frustrating interaction into a positive one.
Hmm.
What about a place like Trader Joe's? Their employees always seemed so engaged and friendly.
Exactly. That's another great example. Their employees often initiate these friendly, informal conversations with shoppers.
Yeah, they do.
They offer suggestions based on what they've learned about customer preferences, or sometimes just engage in lighthearted banter. It kind of elevates the mundane task of grocery shopping.
Makes it more personal, enjoyable.
Right.
And it's not just the big corporations, is it? Local small businesses often thrive on this more intimate connection.
Absolutely. Many successful local businesses make it a priority, remembering regular customers by name, recalling their usual purchases or preferences.
That personal touch.
Exactly that. It makes customers feel truly valued, fosters a strong sense of community, And, well, it encourages repeat business. It just works.
Okay, so we see the positive impact. Now, what are some of the common missteps, the things people do that clearly signal, a lack of genuine interest?
Oh, there are a few common ones. Interrupting someone while they're speaking is a significant one.
Mm-hmm. Big one.
It subtly communicates that your own thoughts or opinions are more important than what the other person has to say.
Oh, that's a conversation killer for sure. Another prevalent one, and we see this all the time.
The phone.
Yes, being constantly distracted by your phone when someone is talking to you. It's a nonverbal cue that they just don't have your full attention.
And frankly, it can feel quite dismissive.
Totally.
Precisely. And a final point here is the act of asking questions, but not truly engaging with the answers.
What do you mean exactly?
You can often tell when someone is simply waiting for a pause, right? So they can jump in with their own agenda rather than genuinely absorbing what you've just said.
Just waiting for their turn to talk.
Exactly that. It's not real listening.
Okay, so showing genuine interest helps you make friends. Now, how does that foundational likability extend to becoming, as we maybe cheekily put it, super popular?
Well, it's kind of a natural progression, isn't it? When you consistently demonstrate that you value and hear the people around you, they are naturally drawn to that positive
So
energy.
it's wider than just close friends.
Right. It's about cultivating a wider circle of these positive emotional connections.
So the benefits ripple out. We're talking about an overall increase in how many people just, well, have a positive regard for you.
Exactly. And with that broader positive sentiment comes the advantage of building a more robust network.
Ah, the network effect.
Right. Having a larger number of people who view you favorably can lead to unexpected opportunities, support in various aspects of your life. It really opens doors.
And there's a reciprocal element at play too, isn't there? If you consistently show care and interest in others,
Hmm.
they're more inclined to reciprocate that care, maybe be more willing to offer help when you need it.
Precisely. It builds social capital. Now, considering the opposite, what are the broader social consequences of not nurturing this genuine interest and therefore maybe not achieving that wider sense of popularity?
It sounds quite lonely, actually. You could find yourself feeling isolated, maybe even in crowded social settings.
That's very true. A wide network without genuine connection can feel surprisingly hollow.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, if you consistently project an air of disinterest or, self-absorption, it can lead to negative perceptions spreading within social circles.
People talking behind your back.
Potentially, yeah. And that negative reputation can be really difficult to overcome.
And on a practical level, you might just miss out on opportunities. People are naturally more inclined to support and advocate for those they feel a genuine affinity with.
Right. They help people they like and connect with.
So how do we see companies in the U.S. leveraging this to build that wider positive perception, that popularity with their customer base?
Starbucks immediately comes to mind.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Even something as simple as a barista remembering your name and your usual order.
Right, they do that.
It creates this small but significant feeling of personal recognition. It makes you feel seen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a seemingly minor detail, but it contributes to a more positive overall customer experience.
For sure. Then you have companies like Nordstrom, renowned for their exceptional customer service.
They have a great reputation.
They do. Their employees are often empowered to go above and beyond, to really understand and cater to individual customer needs. It demonstrates a genuine sense of care.
And this must be particularly crucial for organizations that depend on public goodwill, like community organizations, nonprofits.
Exactly. The successful nonprofits often prioritize cultivating strong relationships with their donors and volunteers
How do they do that?
by actively listening to their motivations for supporting the cause, expressing sincere gratitude for their contributions. It fosters the strong sense of shared purpose and belonging, makes people want to stay involved.
Now, what are some common mistakes people make that hinder their popularity, the things that signal a lack of genuine interest in that wider circle?
Well, only reaching out to individuals when you have a specific need or, a favor to ask is a significant red flag. Ah, the user.
Pretty much. It can make your interest appear transactional and insincere rather than stemming from a genuine connection.
That makes sense. What else?
Another behavior that can really damage your social standing is engaging in gossip or speaking negatively about others.
Yeah. Toxic.
It indicates a lack of respect, and others will naturally wonder what you might be saying about them behind their backs.
Yeah.
It erodes trust quickly.
And a seemingly small but impactful mistake.
Forgetting people's names.
Well, that's embarrassing when you do it.
It is. And it can make them feel overlooked and unimportant, really undermining any potential for connection.
Okay, so genuine interest makes you likable, popular. Now, let's explore how it transforms everyday exchanges into truly engaging conversations.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is the shift in focus that genuine interest brings to communication.
Yeah,
It moves away from simply broadcasting your own thoughts
right.
and towards actively seeking and understanding another person's perspective. This transforms a monologue into a mutually enriching dialogue. Right. So one of the primary benefits is just becoming a more engaging conversationalist overall.
Absolutely.
People will genuinely enjoy talking with you because they feel heard, understood, and actively involved in the exchange. It's just more fun.
It really is. And by asking thoughtful questions and truly listening to the responses, you gain access to this wealth of knowledge and experiences you wouldn't otherwise encounter.
Everyone has something interesting to share,
Everyone has unique insights to offer. Exactly.
and it naturally fosters a deeper level of connection. When both people are genuinely engaged, curious about each other,
Yeah.
conversations become more meaningful, memorable, and they contribute to stronger relationships.
Yeah, definitely. Now, what are the typical outcomes when that genuine interest is absent from our conversations?
Well, the most immediate result is often just dull, uninspired conversations.
Right. Yeah, pretty boring.
If you're not engaged or asking follow-up questions, the other person is likely to lose interest pretty quickly. They might start avoiding future interactions,
And on a practical level, you can miss out on critical information. If you're not truly listening, you'll likely overlook key details.
which can lead to misunderstandings.
Or missed opportunities down the line, absolutely.
And ultimately, you risk developing a reputation as a poor listener.
Which is generally not a desirable trait, is it, in either personal or professional contexts?
Not at all.
Hmm.
So let's look at some examples. U.S. companies that facilitate excellent conversations through demonstrating genuine interest.
Well, you mentioned Apple Store geniuses earlier.
I did. How does that fit here?
When you bring in a device with a problem, they often start by asking about how you typically use it.
Right, like what do you mainly do with your iPad?
Exactly. It shows an interest in your specific needs and context, not just a generic technical issue. It makes the help more relevant.
That's an excellent example of tailoring the interaction. What about a completely different field, like healthcare?
Oh, absolutely vital there. Effective doctors and nurses take the time to carefully listen to their patients' concerns,
Making them feel acknowledged and understood.
which is crucial not just for feelings, but for accurate diagnosis and treatment, too. You need the full story.
And in education.
Engaging teachers, the ones who demonstrate a real curiosity about their students' thoughts and questions.
Yeah.
They create a much more dynamic and effective learning environment. It encourages active participation, deeper comprehension. Kids feel safer to ask questions.
Okay, now what about the flip side? Common conversational pitfalls that betray a lack of genuine interest.
One of the most prevalent is immediately shifting the focus back to yourself as soon as the other person finishes speaking.
The conversation hijacker.
Exactly. It communicates that their experience is somehow less significant than your own.
That's another one.
Offering unsolicited advice without fully grasping the other person's situation or perspective.
Jumping to conclusions.
Right. It can feel dismissive, like you haven't truly heard what they've said before trying to fix it.
And finally, the nonverbal stuff.
Yeah, the telltale signs of inattentiveness. Pretending to listen while your eyes wander, or you fidget restlessly.
It's pretty transparent, isn't it?
It really is. It signals loud and clear that they don't have your full engagement.
Okay. We've explored how genuine interest helps with making friends, becoming popular, having better conversations. Now, let's delve into something more fundamental. Earning people's trust.
Yes, trust. It really forms the bedrock of any meaningful relationship, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And it seems logical that feeling valued and understood, which comes directly from genuine interest, would be a key element in building that foundation.
Right. When you consistently demonstrate sincere interest in others, they perceive that you genuinely care about their well-being, their perspective, which naturally fosters a sense of trust over time. It's not instant, but it builds.
And with that established trust, you can cultivate stronger, more dependable relationships, the kinds of connections you can truly rely on in the long run.
Exactly. And when people trust you, they are more likely to be open and honest in their interactions, right?
Absolutely. It creates a safer, more authentic space for communication and for sharing experiences, both good and bad.
Now, what are the consequences to trust when genuine interest is lacking or seems, well, fake?
The most immediate effect is that people may become wary of your motives.
Suspicious.
Yeah, suspicious. They might constantly question your underlying intentions if your interest seems to surface only when you stand to gain something.
That feels manipulative.
It can. And as we discussed, trust is essential for developing deep connections. Without it, building truly meaningful, lasting relationships becomes a huge challenge.
And perhaps the most damaging outcome.
It's when your displayed interest feels insincere or, yeah, manipulative. People can feel exploited, used.
And that can severely damage any possibility of building trust in the future.
Completely. It burns bridges.
So how do companies in the U.S. strategically employ genuine interest to cultivate trust with their clientele? Where's trust absolutely critical?
Well, consider financial advisors. Trust is absolutely paramount in that
For
profession.
sure, you're handling their future,
Exactly. Reputable advisors invest significant time in thoroughly understanding their clients' long-term financial goals, their aspirations, their concerns.
showing genuine interest in their future security.
Right. And that interest is crucial for building the necessary trust for that relationship to work.
Similarly, maybe real estate
A
agents.
good example. Agents who prioritize truly understanding what their clients are looking for in a home, their needs, their lifestyle, their budget, rather than just pushing for a quick sale. They value the client's needs, and that fosters a more trusting partnership throughout a stressful process.
And in customer service. We touched on Zappos, but more broadly.
Companies that empower their support teams to truly empathize with and understand customer issues and then effectively resolve them. They build significant customer trust
It shows they value the customer's experience.
and are invested in finding solutions, not just closing a ticket.
On the other hand, what are some common behaviors that really erode trust by indicating a lack of genuine interest?
Exhibiting inconsistent levels of interest is a big red flag.
Hot and cold.
Yeah, showing intense engagement one day and then appearing completely indifferent the next. It makes you seem unreliable, maybe even untrustworthy. What's the real you?
That makes sense. What else breaks trust?
A major breach is divulging private information that someone has shared with you in confidence.
Oh, absolutely. Gossip kills trust.
It's a fundamental violation of the implicit understanding in a trusting relationship. You just don't do it.
And finally,
Simply failing to follow through on commitments you make, it demonstrates a lack of respect for the other person's time and needs.
undermines trust very quickly.
Rapidly. Doesn't take many times for people to stop relying on you.
Okay, we've covered making friends, popularity, conversations, trust. Now let's examine how genuine interest can help you get people on your team, whether that's in a professional setting or just influencing others more broadly.
Yeah, what's compelling here is how understanding an individual's perspective and needs, which is driven by genuine interest, makes them significantly more receptive to your ideas and suggestions.
Because they feel acknowledged.
Exactly. They feel acknowledged and valued, making them more likely to at least consider and often align with your viewpoint.
Right, so a key advantage is the increased ability to, well, persuade others to your way of thinking.
Hmm.
They're more willing to consider your proposals because they feel you've actually taken their perspectives into account first.
Exactly. And this naturally enhances your influence. People
Yeah.
are just more inclined to listen to and be swayed by someone who consistently listens to them.
It's a fundamental aspect of social dynamics, isn't it?
It really is, give and take.
And ultimately, it facilitates smoother progress in achieving goals.
Hmm.
People are generally more willing to collaborate, to offer assistance to someone who demonstrates genuine consideration for their needs and viewpoints.
They want to help people who seem to care about them.
Makes sense. Now, what are the likely outcomes when you attempt to influence others without that underlying genuine interest?
Well, you're likely to encounter resistance to your ideas right off the bat.
Why is that?
If individuals don't feel heard or understood, they're just less inclined to be open to what you're suggesting. Their guard goes up.
And it can lead to increased friction, disagreements.
For sure. When people feel devalued or ignored, they can become defensive, less willing to find common ground. It becomes adversarial.
And ultimately building consensus, fostering cooperation that becomes significantly more challenging if you haven't invested the time to understand and value the perspectives of those you're trying to influence.
Yeah, it's much harder work and less effective.
So how do companies or individuals in the U.S. effectively gain support and collaboration through applying genuine interest?
Effective team leaders are a prime example.
How so?
They make a concerted effort to understand their team members' individual perspectives, their motivations, even their potential challenges. They ask, they listen.
And that fosters better collaboration.
And a greater sense of ownership and shared goals. People feel like they're part of it, not just cogs in a machine.
Absolutely. And in sales.
Successful sales professionals, the really good ones, prioritize understanding the customer's specific needs and, crucially, their pain points.
So they're not just pushing products.
No, they're positioning their products or services as genuine solutions. That genuine focus on the customer's well-being is key to building trust and making the sale long-term.
And in negotiations.
Skilled negotiators are, by definition, active listeners. They carefully consider the other party's concerns, their priorities, their constraints.
Trying to find common ground.
Exactly. To identify that common ground and achieve mutually beneficial outcomes, you can't do that if you don't understand what the other side truly needs.
Now, what are some typical mistakes people make when attempting to influence others that reveal a lack of genuine interest? The things that backfire.
A significant one is focusing solely on your own objectives and desires while completely disregarding the needs or wants of the other person.
It's very self-centered.
Very. And it often breeds resentment, not agreement.
You know.
Another is trying to impose your opinions on others without taking the time to understand their reasoning or perspective, just bulldozing through.
That can be perceived as dismissive, disrespectful.
Highly disrespectful. And finally, simply rejecting other people's ideas out of hand without giving them proper consideration can be incredibly alienating and make them resistant to basically any of your future suggestions.
Yeah.
You shut down the dialogue.
Okay. As we move towards the end of our discussion points, let's consider how genuine interest impacts your ability to collaborate effectively with others, specifically in a team or group setting.
Yeah, this seems particularly important in today's, interconnected work environments. Collaboration is key.
It really is, and it makes intuitive sense that showing genuine interest in your teammates, your colleagues, would lead to smoother, more harmonious collaboration.
Absolutely. One clear benefit is an enhanced ability to navigate disagreements and address concerns more effectively.
How does that work?
When you genuinely listen and understand a colleague's viewpoint, even if you disagree, you can approach conflict resolution with greater empathy. You look for constructive solutions together.
And it can also proactively prevent minor disagreements from escalating in the first place.
Definitely. Showing respect and empathy through genuine interest can maintain positive, productive working relationships, even when there are bumps in the road.
And perhaps most significantly in a team dynamic.
When individuals feel valued, when they feel their contributions are recognized and appreciated, which stems directly from genuine interest, it can significantly boost overall morale and motivation. People want to contribute.
Now, what are the detrimental effects of a lack of genuine interest when working in a collaborative environment?
Well, teamwork can become significantly more challenging and frustrating. Misunderstandings are far more likely to occur.
And overall collaboration suffers.
Hugely, especially when individuals don't feel heard, valued, or respected by their peers or leaders.
And as we've touched on before, conflicts and disagreements are more likely to arise and probably escalate if that foundation of mutual respect and understanding is absent.
Yes, small issues can become big problems much faster.
And ultimately, a lack of genuine interest can cultivate a team environment where individuals are just unwilling to go the extra mile.
Right. They won't contribute beyond the bare minimum required. Why should they if nobody seems to care?
So how do successful U.S. companies foster this sense of genuine interest to cultivate positive and productive work environments? Any examples?
Google, for example, is pretty well known for its culture that encourages employees to openly share their ideas and actively listen to diverse perspectives.
Building that collaborative environment.
Exactly. It's built on a foundation of valuing different viewpoints and fostering mutual respect. They try to bake it into the system.
What about a different industry?
Southwest Airlines often gets cited. They place a strong emphasis on nurturing positive employee relationships built on respect and genuine interest.
And that internal culture translates outwards.
Often it does, into their renowned positive customer service. Happy employees often lead to happier customer.
And in project-based teams, where collaboration is everything.
Yeah, where success is heavily reliant on effective collaboration, the most successful teams are frequently those where members actively listen to and value each other's contribution.
Fostering that sense of shared ownership.
And mutual respect is crucial for getting complex projects done well.
Okay, finally, what are some common mistakes people make in team settings that clearly indicate a lack of genuine interest in their colleagues?
Taking credit for the work of others is a huge one.
Oh yeah, that's bad.
It's a significant breach of professional etiquette and demonstrates a profound lack of interest in acknowledging their contributions or efforts, destroys morale,
Similarly.
not contributing equitably to group projects, letting others carry the load.
Hmm.
It can leave other team members feeling undervalued, like their efforts are being taken for granted, breeds resentment.
And one more.
Consistently adopting a negative or overly critical stance without offering any constructive feedback, just tearing things down.
That creates a toxic atmosphere.
Totally. And it signals a lack of genuine investment in the team's overall success or in helping individuals grow. It's just destructive.
Right. We've reached our final area of exploration, and it focuses on the long-term perspective,
Mm.
cultivating relationships that truly endure.
Mm-hmm.
And it certainly sounds like genuine interest is the essential nutrient, the water and sunlight for nurturing these lasting connections.
Absolutely. Think of genuine interest as the consistent care and attention that allows relationships, friendships, family partnerships to deepen and withstand the inevitable challenges that time can bring.
So the rewards of this sustained effort are pretty significant, then.
Hugely significant. You cultivate strong, lasting relationships grounded in mutual respect, genuine care, and deep understanding.
Exactly. And having these resilient connections provides a dependable support system.
Right. Individuals who genuinely care about your well-being and will actually be there for you during difficult times. That's invaluable.
And ultimately, these strong, enduring relationships contribute significantly to our overall sense of happiness, fulfillment, and just belonging in life.
They really are fundamental to well-being. No, what happens when that genuine interest wanes in our long-term relationships? When we stop watering the plant, so to speak?
Sadly, those relationships can gradually fade away over time. It's often not dramatic, just a slow drift.
Mm.
Without consistent nurturing, that demonstrated interest, they can lose their vitality and eventually just dissolve.
And that can lead to feelings of isolation and loneliness later in life, can it?
Yeah, particularly if you haven't actively invested in building and maintaining those deep connections over the years. You look around and wonder where everyone went.
And you could miss out on so much of the richness of life, the shared experiences, the mutual support, the deep understanding that comes from having close, enduring relationships with friends and family.
The good stuff.
Exactly. So, how do successful U.S. companies or even organizations try to cultivate these long-term bonds with their customer base or members?
Well, long-standing family-owned businesses often excel at this. They prioritize building strong personal relationships with their customers and employees.
Sometimes spanning multiple generations.
Exactly. It becomes about more than just transactions. It's about community, shared history, genuine connection.
That makes sense. What about larger organizations?
Universities and colleges often invest heavily in fostering strong alumni networks.
How do they show interest?
By demonstrating continued interest in their graduates' achievements, highlighting their successes, providing ongoing opportunities for connection and engagement, networking events.
Keeping that connection alive.
Right. And while sometimes perceived as purely transactional, the most effective loyalty programs aim higher.
Oh, so?
They try to foster a sense of community, express genuine appreciation for long-term customers, extending beyond mere discounts, maybe focusing on personalized experiences or exclusive access.
Making people feel part of something.
Exactly. Finally, what are some common mistakes people make that can damage long-term relationships due to a decline in genuine interest? Things that cause that fading away.
Well, only reaching out to people on significant occasions, birthdays, holidays can make your interest feel obligatory rather than heartfelt.
Like you're just checking a box.
Precisely. Consistent engagement, showing you care in the everyday moments, that's key for long-term health.
What else?
Another oversight is just taking significant relationships for granted, assuming they'll always be there without active nurturing. Relationships require ongoing effort, attention, and a continued demonstration of interest. They aren't self-sustaining indefinitely.
And one last crucial point.
Allowing disagreements or misunderstandings to fester without making an effort to understand the other person's perspective.
Just letting it sit there.
Yeah, that can cause irreparable damage to even the most enduring relationships. You have to care enough to work through it.
Wow. Okay, now let's revisit our entrepreneur, Tony. His journey really underscores how transformative this principle can be, both professionally and personally.
Right, you mentioned he was struggling initially.
He was. Declining sales, an unmotivated team. What was the atmosphere like within his company before he recognized the power of genuine interest?
From what we gathered, it sounds like it was a very top-down environment, very hierarchical.
So team meetings
We're essentially Tony lecturing his employees, little opportunity for their input, their ideas,
and employee feedback.
rarely solicited, and even less frequently acted upon. It wasn't valued. And consequently, his team members felt like, well, like mere functionaries, like cogs in his machine.
Lacking any real sense of purpose or value.
Exactly. Communication was largely a one-way street, flowing from Tony down to his employees.
And when conflicts arose.
He would just dictate solutions without truly understanding the underlying causes or the different perspectives involved. Just do this.
Okay, so that was the internal climate. What about his interactions outside the company? How did this lack of interest manifest in his sales and customer relationships?
It mirrored the internal problems, really. His sales pitches were heavily focused on the technical specs of his products.
Features, not benefits.
Exactly. Little consideration for how they actually addressed customer needs or solved their problems.
And customer complaints.
He viewed them mostly as unwelcome interruptions, as annoyances, rather than seeing them as valuable opportunities for learning and improvement.
And in networking situations.
He primarily focused on promoting his own company, dominating conversations. It was all about him.
Even supplier relationships.
Purely transactional, centered solely on securing the lowest possible price, no real partnership, and his marketing efforts reflected this self-centered approach too.
Completely. Consistently highlighting we and our amazing product, rather than emphasizing the benefits for the customer.
Okay. Then came that pivotal moment, Tony reading How to Win Friends and Influence People. What were some of the initial internal changes he implemented after this realization hit him?
Well, he began by completely revamping his team meetings. Huge shift.
How so?
Instead of delivering monologues, he started actively soliciting his team's ideas, asking questions, and genuinely listening to their suggestions, making space for them.
And he introduced regular feedback sessions too.
Yes, demonstrating that he actually valued their opinions and insights now. It wasn't just lip service.
And how did he attempt to improve morale and motivation, which sounded pretty low?
He made a conscious effort to acknowledge and praise improvements, even small ones, to recognize individual contributions publicly.
Fostering that sense of value and appreciation.
Exactly. Communication became a two-way process. He encouraged open dialogue, making sure everyone felt their voice was actually heard.
And disagreements. How did he handle those differently?
He made a point of trying to understand all sides of the issue before suggesting or imposing a solution, seeking understanding first.
That sounds like a massive internal shift. What about his external business dealings? How did his newfound emphasis on genuine interest alter those interactions?
Well, his sales approach underwent a fundamental change. A complete 180.
From product features to...
To focusing on thoroughly understanding his potential customers' specific needs first, then demonstrating how his products could provide tangible solutions for them.
And those customer complaints he used to hate.
He started to view them as invaluable feedback. He took the time to listen attentively, address concerns with genuine empathy, turn critics into fans sometimes.
And his approach to networking must have transformed considerably. No more just talking about himself.
Absolutely not. He started asking others about their businesses, showing sincere curiosity in their endeavors, their challenges, building authentic connections.
Rather than just pushing his own agenda.
Right. He even began to cultivate stronger relationships with his suppliers.
How?
By expressing interest in their businesses, their challenges. It led to more collaborative, less purely transactional partnerships. More give and take.
And his marketing strategy, did that change too?
Oh yeah. His marketing shifted to a customer-centric approach, emphasizing how his products could benefit them directly.
Using language focused on you and your needs.
Exactly that. Much more outward-looking.
And the results of all these changes, internal and external, were quite dramatic, weren't they?
They were truly remarkable. Tony's sales experienced a significant surge. Why? Because customers finally felt understood and valued.
And his team
became highly motivated, productive, because they felt appreciated and respected. Their ideas mattered.
And as a direct consequence of prioritizing genuine interest in basically all his interactions, his business evolved from the struggling venture into a thriving financial success. It was a complete turnaround.
Tony's story really does underscore the profound impact of this seemingly simple principle.
It really does.
So as we conclude this deep dive for you, our listener, remember this. Cultivating genuine interest in others isn't just a pleasant social skill. It's not just nice.
No, it's much more.
It's a powerful catalyst for both personal and professional success. It really is like a true secret superpower, just waiting to be unleashed.
Absolutely. And we really encourage you to actively apply this in your own life. You don't have to wait.
Start small.
Start today. Make a point to ask someone about their day, a colleague, a friend, family member, and truly listen.
Not just waiting for your turn to speak.
No. Genuinely absorbing what they have to say. Be
It
curious.
truly is that simple to begin. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Hmm.
What unexpected connections, opportunities, collaborations might unfold in your own life if you consistently practice genuine interest, maybe extending even beyond Tony's specific examples.
Yeah.
How might a broader commitment to truly understanding one another impact our communities, maybe even the wider world?
It's certainly a compelling thought to consider. What could happen if we all just listened a little more?
Welcome to the deep dive. We've been looking into something that might just be, well, a surprising key to unlocking all sorts of doors in your life.
Mm-hmm.
It's about genuine interest in other people.
Mm.
We've taken a close look at how to win friends and influence people. And while it's a classic, the core idea, it feels more like a superpower you can actually develop.
That's a great way to put it. We're going to explore how actively focusing your attention, your curiosity on the people around you can create this real ripple effect.
Right.
We'll see how it's not just about making those initial connections, but, about fostering lasting relationships, becoming someone others genuinely value,
Hmm.
having truly engaging conversations, building like unshakable trust, and even becoming more influential, more effective in teams.
And to really bring this home, we're going to share the story of Tony. He's an entrepreneur who learned this lesson through experience.
Oh.
Yeah, and saw a remarkable transformation in his business. It's a really compelling example of how this principle works in the real world, both internally with his employees and externally with customers.
That sounds fascinating. Looking forward to digging into that.
Okay, so let's start by digging into how this helps with just, well, making friends.
Right. What's fascinating right from the start is this almost immediate positive feedback loop that genuine interest creates in, social interaction.
Exactly. Think about it when someone really listens to you, asks follow-up questions,
Mm.
seems genuine.